Hi everyone, it's Nicole and thanks for stopping by today. I have an art journal layout that I'm going to share with you featuring some Shimmerz Paints products. If you want a free product whenever you place an order, be sure to mention my name in the comment section of your order at the end before checkout. So I've gone through, picked out 5 different sprays and 3 of their new Acrotones paints to use on this project. I also grabbed one of my favorite color of their aqua hues, the Purplicious, and that's what I'm starting off with here. The aqua hues has no shimmer to it, so this is just like a typical watercolor paint. But I like how their paints are. You have to add water to them so that it activates the color. One of my favorite things about their paints. So I'm going to layer that with some 2 darker sprays. The first one, the darkest one of the 2, is the Vibes Quit Your Whinin', and the other lighter of the 2 purple sprays is the Spritz Walkin' on a Tight Heliotrope. And I'm going to layer these over each other and then go in with some water and mist them so that they work themselves together. So that they blend together. Now I did have some of the color run through between my pages, but it's no big deal for me. I just usually cover that up in the end anyway, so it doesn't bother me. But I did prep my page before I started this project. It does not show it in here. I didn't film that part, but I did coat it with clear gesso, just so that everything would move easier whenever I went to do this background. So once the bottom part was done, I took 3 other colors of my spray mist. The first lighter one was the colorings Peachy Keen. The more of a red one that I was just spritzing there was the Spritz in Ruby. And then I'll have one final color between the orange and the purple, and that is going to be the Vibes in the Sunset Strip. It's a very pretty, beautifully shimmering yellow color. I think this color combination in particular can tend to scare most people because although the red, orange, and yellow can blend beautifully, you really don't want the yellow or the peach to blend in with the purple because it can become a brown, muddy mess. So if you attempt this, make sure that you keep a paper towel handy with you. Whenever the color starts to run together, perfect example right there, the orange goes into the purple, but you have to hurry up and kind of soak it up in your paper towel so that it doesn't turn brown. So I put that aside to dry, and I went through some of my distress inks and found a couple of coordinating colors with these spritz. I wanted to do some soft stamping on the background just to add a little bit of dimension to it. These 2 strip stamps I have had in my stash literally since the beginning of time when I started stamping, which my goodness has to be probably 10 plus years ago. So I know they were Joanne stamps. I know they were clearance, like 97 cents at that time. I'm sorry, I have no idea what these are from, but they are a nice floral strip, which I used with the Concord Grape Distress ink on the bottom part of it over the purple. And then I had the Abandoned Coral, Spiced Marmalade, and Mustard Seed that I used with the text strip stamp and just randomly put ink on the stamp. I don't even think the stamp really held the ink that well because it was an older style rubber, which I don't even really know if it was a true rubber. So it didn't hold it well, but that was okay. That's what I wanted for that texture on the background. I wasn't looking for perfection, just wanted to add a little bit in. So once that was all dry, I took my dimensional paste and added the spritz in the Walking a Tight Heliotrope, the Sunset the Vibe Sunset Strip, the Coloring Peachy Keen, and the Spritz in Ruby. I added those 3 colors all to a little bit of texture paste and decided to use one of my stencils to add some color, dimensional color, to the background. So that's what you can see on the right there is just my texture paste that I added in with those different colors of Spritz. So I think the star of the show here is going to be this new paint from Shimmerz. These are the Acrotones, which, like I mentioned before, is a self-priming paint. There's gesso already included in this. You don't have to worry about it, and it is fantastic for art journal, mixed media, and even Bible journaling pages. When I took this and painted this onto this background, which all of these stems that I'm showing here are going to eventually be stems for several different types of flowers. But when I put these on my pages, the color from the background, like the purple and the yellow and red, did not show through at all. Loved it. So, moving on, I went through my stash of papers and I grabbed an old Shimmerz paper pad from probably, 3 years ago. And grabbed 3 coordinating colors out and just took my Sharpie and drew, very sketchy as you can see, some flower petals. Very sketchy. I didn't really take my time. I just randomly drew them. And then once I drew them, I did coat these in multimedia matte and let them dry. I think whenever I go to use my markers like these, if I have the multimedia matte on there, it's easier for me to move the ink from the Faber-Castell pens. So once all the petals were dry, I went ahead and cut every single one of them out. I did 6 of the bigger petals, and then also I think I did 6 of the smaller ones as well. I wasn't sure at first if I was going to use the smaller petals, but in the end I do. So I just went around, tried to randomly lay out these petals over the stems. The 3 larger stems is going to be where the 3 flowers with the petals are going to come in. And then the smaller stems that I use the gift card I'll use with a paintbrush later on. So I'm just going to take some time, go around and glue all of these petals down. And here's where I start to add in the texture of the background. You can see on the left side of the page, I already went ahead and added in the dots of these smaller flowers, which is from the Pinkadelic Acrotones, which is the pink paint, and the Edgy Eggplant Acrotones, which is the purple. I just put a little bit of those on my mat, added a little bit of water to them, and just dotted them with my paintbrush along the thinner green stems. Once I was done with that, grabbed some of the petals that were left over for the yellow flower and placed them out, went through, glued them down just like I did with all of the others. And then I went through my stash while those were setting in place and found these really cute enamel wood adhesive buttons. They were pretty large. They were from, I want to say it was Jelly Bean Soup from a long time ago. Like, I really rated my stash for products for this, except for my Shimmerz, trying to use up some of the old stuff that I have. So I grabbed the 3 of the largest of these buttons and thought that they would be perfect for my flower centers. They did have foam adhesive on the back of them. I chose to just go ahead and add more of my liquid adhesive behind it just so that they stayed together since they were so big. And I wasn't sure how they were going to bump into each other and rub against each other if they did whenever the book was closed. So I put some white gesso on the right hand side of my page there and watered it down, and I'm going to go back in and highlight where I painted the flowers in the background. I thought they were blending in a little too much, so I just put little white dots on them and went over all of those. And then here's where I started to play with the little flower petals. I wasn't sure if I was going to use them, and then I decided, well, let's mix it up, put some different colors on the other flowers just so that they weren't all matchy, and I just went ahead and glued them down. So for my thickers, I have these whimsical thickers. I thought that they were perfect for the look of the page. I could not find a name on them, which is sad because I love these and I would definitely buy them again just because they're so cute and I just love the font of them. But I went through and started to create my quote, or my title, so to speak, for the page, which ends up being "A beautiful life begins with a beautiful mind." And I wanted to highlight life and mind, so I used these stickers for those two words. And then I had the black stickers that you saw on the left that were also pretty whimsical, and those were Target dollar spot stickers from last Halloween that I got on clearance for like 20 cents or something crazy. So I had like 6 packages of them. So I just grabbed those and used those up. So I thought that it needed something a little bit else, and I was trying to figure out a way to put in my date. I always date my journal pages whenever I do them. So I went back to that paper pad from Shimmerz and found this little movie clip strip type ephemera piece on one of the pages, and just decided to cut it out and use that for my date stamp. And I also had Studio Calico chipboard hearts that you see on the right there. I decided to use one of those as a little accent piece for my date section. And I was rummaging through trying to figure out what I could use to fill up some of the space in the background, but I wasn't sure. And then I found these Amy Tan rub-ons, which there again are ancient, and I think they're coming to the end of their lifespan because they are rub-ons. And I'm sure you know that when rub-ons get old, they start to lose their tackiness. These were very difficult to get to stick, so I really had to fuss with them a bit. They didn't want to come off of the backing that they were on, but I managed to get them after playing with them for a little while. So I glued down the heart and added in those rub-on leaves over the 2 flowers, and there was another smaller flower that I added in the background. You might be able to see that in the close-ups. But I went back and I grabbed my Faber-Castell pens in a darker green, and this is where I think all of it starts to pull itself together when you start to add your layers of different colors and your highlights. The darker green, I went along the stems, and for a brief period of time, these pens, the ink in these pens is movable, so you could smear them and it adds a really nice layer of texture and dimension to it. Same thing with the white. I added white highlights on the tips of every leaf. It's more of a softer white, so then I go back through and I grab my white gel pen and I just go over that soft highlight, and it adds that pop of shine, which adds the nice contrast and highlights to all of the leaves. So here you can actually see where I put those rub-ons at. They did have some opening space on them, so I decided to take my white pen and just go in through and color in some of those sections. And then as I was looking at this, I still wasn't 100% satisfied. Like, it almost needed a little bit more, but I didn't want to put too much more in. So I broke out the sprays again in all 4 of the colors and just decided to go through and add in some splatters. Do this in my scrapbook pages a lot, so I thought I would go through that and try it on here, and I just absolutely love the way this turned out. I finished it off with taking a black marker around the edge of the page just to make sure that it defined the page a little bit more and that it gave it a more finished look. And that's it. Thanks again, everyone, for stopping by. If you are interested in any Shimmerz products, I'll make sure I put the link below, and have a great day. Thank you.